everybody. We are back here for day 3 of the World Cyber Games 2019. We had an awesome day yesterday of some great StarCraft 2 show-matched games.
Yep.
Now we're going to be starting the actual, serious face tournament portion of the show.
Yeah, yesterday was just for seeding. They were playing with some fans that were actually pretty good players overall. And it ended up being a finals of USA against China. And Neeb ended up taking that in a very close series against Cyan.
Yeah, we had a surprisingly good number of 2v2s yesterday as well. I had a lot of fun casting that. 2v2 can be hit or miss sometimes. Were fun. But yeah, we had some great team games there. And it was cool to see pro players playing with amateur players.
Well, it kind of worked out because the games were very good. So, I
coming into this,
really
I wasn't sure
it.
what to expect.
No,
but
totally.
It was quite good.
And at the end of the day, of course, Neeb ends up taking it and actually chose Cyan as his seed dictated, right? He won that tournament. So it's going to be Neeb versus Cyan here, USA against China for our first match of the day.
That's right. And this should be a pretty exciting match. I'd say Neeb is slightly favored here. Cyan is a good player, but you know, it's hard to take on Neeb no matter who you are in the StarCraft world in PvP. Yeah. He's such a good player. We even saw this highlighted a little bit in the 2v2 where it was all Protosses on all sides. And he was actually the most behind in that and managed to end up in the greatest lead by the end of the games. He really knows from start to finish how to play PvP. And even in the game that he played yesterday afternoon, we saw him try to do a 2-base timing push only to be hit by DTs that he had no detection for. I guess he had one Oracle. And so he lost about 22 probes and still managed to win the game despite having an inferior immortal count.
Yeah.
So
certainly some awesome
impressive.
Play. No question. So look at this, the overview of WCG in general. Of course, it's going on right now in Xi'an, China. It's a great venue. A lot of stuff going on down here if you're in the area. And we have 34 nations. We were actually wondering about this yesterday, how many nations were participating this year. 34. Of course, in StarCraft, we just have 4 nations.
Right. This is a small invitational tournament.
I guess 5 totally because Stealthy is Canadian.
Sure.
But yeah, so I guess we had 5 nations in StarCraft.
And as you can see, we have a wide range of titles here. And this is what makes WCG so special, is because there are so many different games here and in the same place. And I think this is important. I think occasionally games get chopped up too much by the different publishers that own them. You know, look, at the end of the day, we are all gamers. It's good to have everybody come here together and compete.
Definitely agree with that. Now, the tournament we're starting today, it's going to be 1 versus 1 double elim best of 3. So we're going to have 5 matches today, I believe, and then the finals tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm almost completely certain that is how it's going down. So yeah, we're gonna see who is going to be playing for the championship of WCG tomorrow.
Yeah. So it's going to be a fun day. And if you're joining us, don't just watch this stream. Check out all the streams. If you've got multiple monitors, there's going to be games going on.
Yeah. In fact,
I believe it's 4 streams total.
I believe that this is our only match on this stream today, and we'll be jumping over to WCG_TZ3 for the rest of the day after this.
Yes. And so, I mean, that's another feature that's also unique about WCG. All the games are going on at the same time. So, if you're going to be following us, definitely make sure you're looking for us on the later stream when we're done with this series.
Yeah, we'll be tweeting that out and everything to keep you guys informed. But it should be a fun little tournament. I mean, you look at the 4 players that we have here, right? It's Neeb versus Cyan. Then we're going to see Maru going up against Raynor, which is, oh my God, yes. This is going to be an amazing match as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have some great players down here. And I will say, I think in some cases it seems clear who the favorite is out of the 4 players that we have, but upsets are very realistic. Like, for instance, I think Cyan really does have a shot to beat Neeb. It's just going to be tough.
Yeah, he's the least likely to win the tournament overall, but I would say especially in this match there is that shot.
Now, are they going to hand the flags to each other? Because they did this last time, and I didn't understand why.
Yes.
Okay, why did we do that?
Pass the flags to each other.
All right, cool. So we pass the flags to each other, and then we will go into our match. Again, this is a best of 3. Neeb versus Cyan here. Now, there's already... and it's early in the morning here, by the way. It's about 10:05 a.m.
Yeah, we just opened the gates. And
yeah, people are still filtering in, but already we're having a stream of Chinese fans come into the seating area to cheer Cyan on.
Maybe some Neeb fans in there as well.
We're the Neeb fans right here.
Yeah.
We're the American representation in this audience. I think it's going to be tough to beat Neeb. so comfortable in tournaments. I mean, if you get to talk to this guy off camera, he is so relaxed.
Yeah.
He is so, I guess, okay in his own skin, which is very different from a lot of other players you'll see where they're just, maybe overwhelmed, stressed out, nervous. Not Neeb. And even on, China's home turf here, with all the fans cheering for Cyan, I think he's going to be feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, generally, Cyan is viewed as the weakest player in this tournament, but he showed, especially yesterday in those exhibition matches, that he is not to be trifled with.
Yeah. No, he's not, Artosis.
Is he to be trifled with?
Not to be trifled with.
Tasteless?
I would certainly say no.
Yeah, I mean, you probably don't want to trifle with him.
No, certainly not. And so here is Cyan. Now, this guy is a great player. He's had some opportunities to compete in Korea, and we've seen him in several other overseas events.
Yeah.
The Chinese StarCraft scene is huge, and there's a long history of great players, and Cyan is one of those players within that pantheon of great Chinese figures.
I think it should be pointed out as well, overall, China has a pretty strong Protoss scene, so Cyan's PvP is really decent, some of the very top players, like, for instance, I think their best player right now is certainly Time, the Terran player.
Yeah.
But if you look at just below him, there's a bunch of strong Protoss players. So.
And there's always been a lot of good Protoss players in China.
Yeah, for
PJ,
quite some
even though he
time.
can play all the matchups, his best race is probably Protoss. And
even
then
in StarCraft 1, that's right.
Legend, another excellent StarCraft 1 Protoss. So,
and even
this happens in some regions. I mean, Russia always had some great Terran players, for instance.
Yeah. And I mean, you look like Jim and Maxed, and there's quite a few strong Protosses out there. Cloudy is a strong one nowadays. I mean, his PvP looked pretty strong against Neeb anyways. He definitely had the advantage several times. Wasn't able to end up winning that, but PvP does have those kind of situations where you can take a strong early advantage based off strategy alone. Yeah.
And with so many different build orders that you can go for in PvP, there's a lot of different ways this matchup can end up, basically. There's so many options and so many ways to counter. Obviously, proxying has been very trendy. Not just in PvP, it's been pretty trendy in the last few years of StarCraft 2 in general. But we'll see what's going to happen this time around here. But, it's a matchup where you can certainly mask and hide information, disguise what you're doing, mislead your opponent. There are timing attacks that can end the game right away, but if it doesn't end right away, late game PvP is awesome too. Our map lineup is going to be Acropolis, Thunderbird, and if we go to a Game 3, it'll be on New Repugnancy.
Yeah, a nice map set right there. Gonna start off with a couple of bigger maps before it might get finished off on that smaller New Repugnancy. But let's go. Looks like game number 1 on Acropolis is loading. Guys, get out there, spread the word. WCG is starting.
Okay, our first player. I think if we're doing the normal player intros, in the bottom right in the red, from the United States of America, Neeb. And his opponent here in the upper left in the blue, our Chinese player, Cyan. I feel like we should have swapped colors on this. Chinese player should have been red, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, this is the way it is.
Yes.
So, the American flag has red on it as well.
And some blue.
Yeah, it has blue also, and white.
Some white, yes. Actually, most flags in most countries have red, white, and blue on them. It's actually very hard to find
it's kind of weird.
Don't.
Did you ever see that thing where you can divide up one flag to make like 15 flags?
No,
There's like one European flag where if you just chunk pieces off of it, flag-sized pieces,
really,
you can make like every flag. It's crazy because everything's just stripes. No one's actually being clever,
Yeah, well, Nepal's got it down.
Yeah,
they've got the coolest flags. Yeah, they're not going to go with the rectangle. Yeah. They said, well, no one's the flag. No one owns this. Okay, there's no rules for flags.
I feel like we should have flags. There should be a Tastosis flag.
We should. It should be just like
just a big picture of your head.
It's a nerd's head on a pike. So we're gonna have to wait for the cybernetics core, excuse me, to finish on both sides.
What
I don't
are we
know why
waiting
that was
for?
hard. It's early, guys. It's early. And then see what kind of tech is going to come out here. Now it looks like our Chinese player Cyan is going to make a proxied, well, not proxied, I should say, it's a fairly hidden pylon out there, possibly for a Stargate, but occasionally you see other tech.
Seems like a
Stargate
Stargate
as well.
Pylon, and we definitely saw some good Oracle usage from him previously, so definitely would not be surprised about that. Now let's see what Neeb wants to end up doing here. Okay, so Neeb is starting off with a sentry pretty quickly. Oh, a Robo. He's proxying a Robo. Ooh, that's a very strong build.
Okay.
But
Neeb wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, Neeb seems to be playing a slightly more defensive opening, getting that quick sentry so he can't get a scout off. But with the couple of depths into Robo that's proxied relatively close, I like this opening from Cyan. He's going to open up with some fireworks here.
Yeah, I like this. Cyan coming out with a pretty strong attack, but it looks like Neeb is going to spot it. And a lot of this technique is hinged on not being seen right away, so spotting that Robo is a big problem now for Cyan because the element of surprise is gone.
Well, that definitely does mess him up a little bit. The Adept's going to come down. Neeb, knowing what's up, can defend this much easier. All right, so looks like Neeb throws down his own Robo and is continually making Stalkers here, but this is a Robo 3-gate, so it's going to hit quick and it's going to hit hard.
Yeah, I mean, catching it on time is helpful, but you're right. This rush activates pretty damn fast.
Yeah. I think that this is interesting because Neeb is going to try to hold the low ground. A lot of times you don't want to do that against Robo 3-gate because if you lose that position, you're in a lot of trouble. But it was 2 Adepts to start, so the Stalker count isn't going to be overwhelming.
That's right. He's also got a shield battery warping down here at the bottom. Now, the Warp Prism is about to pop out, so keep in mind he could end up tossing some Adepts or some Stalkers inside of the main here. It's going to be tough for Neeb to protect the front if he also has to be covering his main, and that's one of the major threats that comes from a Warp Prism. We're going to have the first Warp-in round come in here. 2 more Stalkers.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and warp in a second shield battery here. And the Stalker count is actually even. And then you have the shield battery, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that Cyan should barely be able to push this back, but there is an Immortal on the way, and Neeb is trying to buy time for that.
Yeah, a few more sentries are going to come out here. And note how he was targeting the Warp Prism for just a second. 1 sentry goes down.
Ooh, yeah, nice execution right there by Cyan.
Okay, he actually had no probe there to make Pylon to block that, but the Shade is not going to complete. Now trying to come in here. A force field does come down to help Cyan out. Neeb looking like he's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that was a great force field right there. He's got to be careful about wasting shots on that Immortal shield, but here he goes. He pushes forward. He's going to snipe this Immortal. That is a huge win right there for Cyan.
Actually, this is going to be hugely problematic now for Neeb. I mean, Neeb is already in a pretty bad shape here. I mean, this damage is going to continue to come forward. Now, the first Immortal is out, but Warp-ins are continuing on. An immediate cancel there by Cyan, identifying that as the Immortal is down there, there's no way he can hold that territory. And Neeb is going to continue to try to push away this attack here from Cyan. Now, I like a lot of what Cyan did back there, but Neeb is so crafty in these situations, and he does still have control of his low ground.
He really executed that superbly well. The fact that he was able to hold and get that second Immortal down, that is just awesome for him. Now, Cyan is actually adding a Twilight and making an Immortal of his own here. So I think he's actually going to do Stage 2 all in with Glaives. That really looks like what the play is for him right now. Neeb, on the other hand, getting his own Prism. I think a very smart move. Nice little harassment going down here from Cyan.
It is eventually going to be Neeb's turn to try to attack at her. Only killing 2 probes, so still not terrible here for Neeb. We have the Adepts coming across now. It looks like he's going to try to shade in here as well. And any kills you can get here. And in fact, we have another Warp-in that might come in here. This is actually pretty overly ambitious. I don't think this was a wise decision.
This was a big mistake.
Oh, my God.
That was a big mistake. Like, he let the Shade finish, and then kind of the Adepts were caught because Neeb had plenty of units. And then it looked to me like Cyan decided, okay, we're going for it with the Prism. And that was a game-changing moment. I think that Cyan just wasted way too many units right there. And with Neeb going for a Mortal Drop and into Disruptors, this is a perfect counter against what Cyan is doing. A perfect counter.
You know, it's funny because Cyan, I think he wasn't in bad shape, but I don't know about when he sent those Stalkers and the Warp Prism in there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he had a lot to lose there, and he absolutely threw away a lot of units.
Yeah, the game is certainly not over. Even though Neeb is like playing really well and Cyan made a little mistake, there's still a lot of play here, as you can see, right? Some good micro there on the Prism.
The thing that makes me concerned about it, though, is it might be kind of telegraphing Cyan's state of mind right now. Making a risky move like that and it not paying off. Now, the Immortals are going to drop in over here. They're going to try to hit these batteries. They do take one out here. Cyan's still keeping Neeb on his toes.
Yeah, very good taking down the batteries. Really important.
Hold on.
My God. That would be just huge if you could have caught that. Obviously, if you can get rid of these immortals, you're going to be able to kill your opponent.
Well, the immortal is the most significant unit in early game to mid game PvP, and it matters a lot in the end game as well. But
it's strong.
But you know, it's just one of these things. If you could shoot down a War Prism with 2 immortals, that's about as ideal of a situation as you could have in a PvP.
Yeah, but look at this. His glaives have finished, and what are we attacking with? 3 adepts. So this is part of the. Oh gosh, he lets it finish, and he's taking a lot of damage right here. Like, he's losing way too much of his army.
Very clumsy attack here, and it looks like the War Prism might be taken out if he's not careful here. It is taken out.
Oh, Cyan having a hard time. He does snipe his opponent's Disruptor there, but it seems like Neeb has done enough. He's done well enough here.
Just has been masterfully played here by Neeb, who's going to execute that last Immortal. And, I mean, despite the best efforts of Cyan, ultimately, Neeb...
Cyan gave himself a lot of great opportunities that game, I feel like, and Neeb played very well to beat him. I think so much of it comes down to finishing that first shade and then diving in with his prism, right? If you're going for glaives, you're looking to hit a critical mass where you can overwhelm your opponent's immortals specifically.
Right.
And I think that Cyan may have actually been able to hit that, but he was hemorrhaging units the whole time, keeping up pressure when he really didn't need to. He had a tech advantage over Neeb, and he should have utilized that by massing up his units.
I totally agree, Artosis. That was... It does exhibit one thing about Neeb, though, is that he's just so good at PvP. I mean, this guy,
he played fantastically.
Every situation, I mean, he saw the rush coming, but it's not like you have a lot of time to be ready for an attack like that. And he basically handled it, frankly, perfectly. He didn't even lose control of the low ground, drove that away. And, in some ways, you're seeing Cyan be so aggressive there. All Neeb has to do is consume the attacks correctly, and he's going to come out on top. And I think with a mixture of lackluster decision-making and some lackluster control, we saw that Cyan was not able to pull out anything in that final attack.
Yeah,
it
was such a weak final attack, unfortunately. Like, let's say that he has, 4 or 5 more Adepts and a couple more Stalkers, then suddenly that attack is looking really, really deadly. Like, you move in, you start pressuring the Nexus, they have to come down, you can do a shade on top, block retreat paths, things like that. But it was a little bit tough. Cyan, though, I like the approach that he's taking. You know what I mean? He's playing aggressively, he's giving himself 2-3 opportunities to get that edge.
He's trying to initiate here, and once he gets the initiation, it's up to Neeb to react. So at least Cyan's getting to practice or getting to execute what he practiced, because there's no way for a player like Neeb. He has allowed no opportunity to ignore an attack like that. And it's not a bad way to play, but again, you can see that Neeb, these attacks, it's like water off a duck's back. It does not do anything to him at all.
Micro and decision-making throughout were
very
stellar.
Patient player. We're going to be going to game number 2, I believe. Oh, excuse me, this is a quick highlight instead.
Yeah, you see that this was great micro, really on both sides. Like, it picks off that Immortal very, very quickly, very well. But Neeb was targeting down the hurt units fantastically. Good microing back and everything. Going up to the high ground when he really needed it as well. Just buying time for that Immortal. It can be dangerous trying to hold the low ground. Now, this was the big mistake from Cyan right here. This was a lot of units died for absolutely no damage. Like, this didn't do anything for Cyan.
Yeah, this was where I got worried for Cyan, as I thought there was no need to do an attack like that. It's much easier for a Protoss to hold off an attack like that. There's a lot more to lose there. And then we see, I believe this is the final attack that we had over here.
Imagine if that final attack was more cleanly executed with those extra units.
Yeah, that he had thrown
3
away.
more Adepts and 2 more Stalkers and more health on the Prism. You put all that together, and suddenly I think that there's a really decent chance that Cyan wins that game.
I think so. I think it would have been a much more difficult attack for Neeb to handle at the front of his base.
Definitely.
And that's why you got to be careful. It's good to be aggressive, but don't throw units away, or you're going to have lost opportunities later on. We're going to go to Thunderbird from map 2. Both players have now joined the lobby. And some pressure here on Cyan. If he loses, he's not eliminated from this tournament yet. There's a loser's bracket, but in a tournament this small, it's tough.
No, it certainly is. You don't get that many shots, and whoever he plays against in the next round, I mean, you don't even know who's going to win that other match, so it is a tough one.
Okay, The series continues on right now. Neeb from the USA with a 1-0 lead in this best of 3. Looking confident in this Protoss versus Protoss. And our map is now loading up. Again, we will be on Thunderbird for game number 2. It's time to find out if Cyan can turn this around or if Neeb will close this out with a 2-0 victory.
So in the top left, we have our American player winning game 1. It's Neeb. And his opponent, bottom right, from China, Cyan.
Big cheers here in the audience. Very cool to see all these fans show up to support Cyan here. I mean, this is a very tough opponent to take on, Neeb.
Yeah. I like watching national pride things. Kind of makes things exciting, you know?
It's fun because I think with even with GSL, what we've had is mostly people excited that anybody who's not a Korean can win.
Yeah.
And so we don't get to see a lot of these rivalries pan out. I mean, we have 2 major nations battling each other here, USA and China, both with a rich history of StarCraft and tons of excellent players. And this is a narrative we don't get to talk about too much, right? You know, these 2 rivalries in the StarCraft scene. So this is fun to be down here, and of course to be in China and see all these people show up and support Cyan. You know, and even for you and me to be Americans and kind of, I think in the back of your head, rooting for him a little bit here as well.
Sure. So looks like it's time to start hiding some buildings.
Yep.
Pretty standard.
It's to be expected in PvP. Now, Cyan appears to be prepping to pocket a pylon in the center right. Right at about 3 o'clock on the mini-map here. And there it is now. Yeah,
that's definitely a popular place to hide a tech. You know, generally you won't see a Robo there, but you could see a Stargate, you could see a Twilight.
I'd be surprised if it was a Robo, but I'm guessing it's going to be Stargate. That's the most common proxy tech we see. Doesn't mean it's the best, but it's
totally reasonable.
It's the one that actually probably has the least risk as well.
Yeah, I would say so, because even if your proxy dies, if you get an Oracle out of it, a lot of times, you know, and a lot of times you get more than 1 unit out of it, but you don't make out of the Stargate consistently the whole game like the Immortal.
Right, exactly. If you lose a Robo, or your Robo is marooned into the middle of the map,
you got to remake it.
Yeah, it's a disaster because that makes all the important units that you need. And so we do have that Stargate coming down here. Now, if you go for an Oracle, that can pop in there just quick enough that the other player can be thrown off. And when you consider, you know, the speed of an Oracle at which it moves, but mostly just the damage output it has, if you can get several extra probes in an attack, it's pretty huge.
Yeah, Neeb right now playing a pretty safe game. He's gone into his Sentry once again, right? Or Cyan has a Sentry as well. That's right. He went Stalker Sentry into the slightly later Stargate. But Neeb going ahead and taking his Nexus, looking for that proxy, but doesn't seem like it's
because it's on the opposite side of the map. It's like the odds of you just spotting it. You're mostly concerned with proxies that are just adjacent to you.
What do you think about this Forge? Isn't that interesting?
Well, it looks like he's going to try to just play a passive game here.
Yeah,
in some ways it kind of makes sense based off what happened in the last game. I mean, Cyan came out with everything in the kitchen sink and threw it at Neeb, and he just defended it and ended up ahead, and Cyan had to tap out. One thing we should point out is it's not going to be Oracles. I had actually, for a second when we were casting, I had swapped the spawns of this because of the red and blue. I keep thinking that the red player is the Chinese player. But it's actually a hidden Stargate where he's going to bank up Phoenixes.
You see, Neeb doesn't really know what's going on. He's throwing on 3 shield batteries that obviously we can see he does not need at the front.
Right.
But he's playing very safely. He's playing very carefully. Finally he's going to find the Stargate, and he's going to see Phoenixes being made, so he knows exactly what's up.
Now, he's going to have to send the Phoenixes across the map. There's no point in trying to bank them down there any further. Once you've seen what your opponent's doing, that player immediately has to come out and try to use those units in any way that he can.
Now, did Neeb cancel that Forge?
I don't know.
I was so interested when he started the Forge because, for instance, the quickest way to get detection from no detection is Forge Cannon.
Right.
So maybe he thought it was DT for a moment, and then he scouted and realized, okay, maybe it's not DT, and he canceled it, maybe? Because normally you don't get a Forge right after your Nexus. That's like, you haven't defended anything yet. It's very hard to get that upgrade. But yeah, we're seeing Neeb's thought process here of like, okay, Is it DT? Okay, no, maybe it's not. Is it some sort of like 3-gate? Oh, okay, no, it's not. You know, he's canceled the forage. He's canceled some shield batteries. He's trying to play catch-all StarCraft here.
Right. Well, I think he's basically identified that he's probably going to be stronger in a later game. So all he needs to do is really be ready for anything cheeky early on.
Yeah,
and if he can take that on, then he should be in a healthy spot in the mid game and the late game.
You know, I don't disagree with that assessment of their relative skill levels, but I look at this game, and without any doubt, I prefer Cyan's position, right?
Oh my God, this is a lot of kills on these probes. 11 kills, 12?
It's so nice. And look at that, he actually shades in as well. That's kind of funny. But look, he just got a ton of probes killed. He's already got his forge going. He's already got a robo going. It's like this. Neeb is almost playing too safe. You got to be careful about that.
Yeah, well, this is the problem: is if you're too defensive and you're staying back, and they still do any damage. In this case, absolutely, Cyan did it not once, but he's done it again as he came in here and now has killed off 14 probes. But right now, I think Neeb might have played into Cyan's hands. Now the question is, if Neeb counterattacks across the map, is Cyan also ready for that? That investment into Phoenixes will not be particularly helpful in defending an attack over here.
He might just die. Natural. He might just die. That's a lot of stalkers right there. His shield battery's not really ready. His Phoenixes don't have much energy. Great force fields right there, though. Picking off a couple stalkers, or, well, one so far, but definitely has potential to get that other one. Good micro there by Neeb.
Phoenixes have come back now. I don't believe they're going to have too many lifts here. So they're going to pick up the 2 sentries. Not a bad play at all.
Ooh, they get targeted down, though. Neeb with some very swift micro here with this Stalker group.
These shield batteries are almost completely drained. Now, the Immortal comes out, and when an Immortal comes out, that's when the Stalkers will have to retreat. You cannot fight an Immortal. And so great play there by Cyan.
He did a strong hold. Some great force fields there. Bought his time, got his shield batteries done. But Neeb is not done. He's adding a bunch of gateways and going into charge and +1. So Cyan right now, even though he held that, he really needs to bunker down if he wants to win this game.
Yeah. Well, everything's worked out, right? I mean, his initial attack worked. He killed off 14 probes, and then the counterattack was held off. So Cyan has the lead. The question is now, can he sequentially macro up, power up, get all the upgrades, or does Neeb have some kind of technique where he's going to try to pull out ahead? Because we've seen this happen before, literally with these two players just yesterday, where Cyan had, on paper, an insane lead, and Neeb somehow, some way managed to pull through with a victory anyways.
Well, Neeb, you know, he's given himself opportunities, which is something that I love to see in a matchup like PvP that can shift so dramatically. You know, he's getting into charge in so many gateways, so he's going to have a somewhat overwhelming army. But if you figure out that this is going on as Cyan, which he really should, considering his Phoenixes are flying around, I think this is not that hard for him to hold. You just sit back, you turtle heavily, take your third base, continue forward, because the tech advantage goes to Cyan. Upgrades as well.
Yeah, well, Cyan is covering all bases here. And this is all you have to do, basically. I mean, there's a lot of these little tactics and strategies we see early on in PvP, but a lot of times you can win a game by simply executing your strategy correctly, and then playing a safe game from there. You got your lead, now close it out.
Well, the closing it out part is what Cyan had trouble with yesterday against Neeb, even though he did have that advantage multiple times. But right now, it's like pretty normal compositions overall. So Neeb coming up.
Now, Neeb might want to try to put a little bit of pressure on here. I'm not sure if this is going to work, though. I think Cyan might be ready.
I can't imagine Neeb breaking that, right? There's no way. There's no way.
Especially up a ramp like that.
Like, he's got Archons, like a good amount of Archons, but Immortals beat Archons. This is not a Zealot-heavy army. If this was like Cyan was cutting things to make lots of Zealots, maybe Neeb could break it, but up a ramp, and he can back up into his shield batteries, and he has a few lifts on his Phoenixes.
Yeah, and there's a Warp Prism there to juggle. I mean, it's like he has basically all the tools.
Well, Neeb does have more army supply here.
Hold on. He's going to attack in now.
Yeah, look at that beautiful juggle back, though, with these Immortals. Saving his Immortals, getting them back there. Oh, my God, just really well done so far by Cyan, but Neeb continues to try to push.
Phoenix is trying to gun down the Warp Prism, and they do not manage to do it. And now with so many Archons coming through, this is it, man. I'm telling you, Neeb, he just gets this matchup so well. It's insane. He's going to continue to push through. So many Archons, and there's just not enough surface area to try to micro these Immortals much further back.
Oh, Cyan needs just a little bit more, though, to hold on. Everything is getting very, very soft here. The fact that that Prism is still alive for Neeb, so crucial. He might actually be able to break through. Beautiful juggling of the Archons on top of the Prism, on top of the Immortals. Wow.
I gotta say, I am stunned.
What?
I am speechless.
Yeah.
Neeb's PvP.
What a victory.
Is so incredible. And the way that he's won this, GG.
Wow.
A victory for the United States. Against China, Neeb winning there. PvP we've had with these two. Neeb is showing that he is invincible in this matchup. It's insane.
Well, that was so masterfully done. Like, that was really his one chance to break down Cyan. I think Cyan was so close to holding it. I believe what happened there is he dived on the Prism and didn't quite get it with his Phoenixes.
Yeah, it was so low on HP.
Because if you sacrifice your 3 Phoenixes in a situation like that, he barely didn't hold that, just to make this really clear.
Yeah.
Barely did not, and then he was going to have +2 and 3 Immortals over Neeb. So that was as close as can be. And Cyan has put out some strong games for being called the weakest player here.
Yeah, no, he's looking very good. It just doesn't seem like he's able to carry some of these strategic victories early on into actual concrete wins as the game pans out.
Well, that was some great execution from Neeb to come up and just break Cyan. It was kind of remind me of like the way Zest might play sometimes, where it's like, okay, I've got this little, I can do it right now if I get up there and do it right now. And a beautiful break.
Yeah, excellently done by Neeb. Now, Cyan's not eliminated yet, so we will have him in the losers match. On the other side of the bracket, we will have Raynor versus Maru.
Yeah, that's going to be coming up next. I do believe we are switching streams, so we'll tweet that out, but it should be twitch.tv/WCG_TZ3.
Should be.
Yes.
Check Artosis' Twitter. I'm having trouble with my Twitter here. So
yeah, definitely.
Gonna have to rely on you for this.
Yeah, you're definitely going to want to watch that. Raynor versus Maru. This is one of those matches where it's like, oh my god, this is the second best foreign Zerg, one of the best Zergs in the entire world, who's already had close matches against Maru in the past, going up against the world's greatest Terran.
And this is the player that's showing the most promise. He's so young.
Yes, that is the big part, too.
That's what's very exciting about it as well, is because when you have someone this young, that usually means they have a long pro gaming career ahead of him, and to be this good. And honestly, I mean, Raynor might just upset this and actually win. I mean,
oh yeah, no, he has real potential to win. Like, really, I think between Neeb, Maru, and Raynor, they all have really reasonable shots to win the whole tournament.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
Yeah. I want to just go do it, but who knows when that's going to
Who knows when we're going to be taking off here. There's so many streams going on. There's so many games and so many casts happening. It's been beautiful chaos here at WCG as we've just got just such an undertaking here.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing quite as big as this is. And it's so good to have WCG back as well.
Oh, of course. It's kind of amazing just the amount of people that were brought together for this event.
Yeah.
And it's so great that they did decide to have StarCraft here after all as well.
Well, StarCraft was one of the pillar games for WCG. So, I mean, it's hard to imagine WCG without it. And so, and also, you know, the community came out and really, you know, told WCG they want to have some StarCraft down here.
Absolutely. And
WCG listen.
I think you guys can really help out by spreading the word about WCG in the StarCraft tournament and getting people to get on here and watch and give some good feedback to WCG, because, you know, this is their first year back after so long. I think they're doing a great job, and hopefully we can keep this going. Have WCG every year for StarCraft again.
This tournament was way ahead of the curve with esports. You know, it eventually faded away, and then esports exploded, and it was everywhere. And so eventually it was brought back. But this is sort of the OG long-term esports tournament that was going on, and it encompassed all different games, which was awesome. You know, you had other, for instance, major FPS lands and stuff like that going on, but you didn't have all the other types of games that were there. And so this game was sort of the big umbrella tournament that unified gamers from all different, you know, genres.
Yeah. And doing that a little bit right now. We're going to go ahead and jump into the highlights